paragraph 10, possession. One of my favorites. Okay, so you need to select one of these. All right, one of these need to be selected. I know it's a little thing, but you got to select one of it. Promulgated form. It's our job. Okay, so let's read it. It says seller shall deliver to buyer possession of the property in its present or required condition, ordinary wear and tear, exception upon closing and funding. So most of the time you need to be checking this. I want you get possession, you get the keys to the property upon closing, meaning all documents signed and the money is in the seller's account. That's when you get the keys. Otherwise, you have to wait. There's another option is according to a temporary residential lease. If you're, let's say for example, your buyers want to move in before closing, or your sellers are going to close and move out a little after they've closed. So they're not going to get possession at exactly closing when the normal is, which is upon closing and funding. I want you to mostly be doing this. If you get into a situation where you have to do this, please notify me, let me know, because you need to be careful on these. Because there's been several situations where there was one poor girl, she bought her dream home in California and allowed because the seller was like, I don't have any money to move out until after I close. So they closed and she gave him, a week to get out. This man never left. Then the moratorium came in where he didn't have to leave, due to COVID. So, but every month she had to pay her mortgage on that property. So, had she just said, I will give you keys upon closing and funding, she wouldn't have found herself in that situation where now she has to go get lawyers and it's a big ordeal, right? So it's always best if you can to get you transfer keys upon closing and funding. You as a buyer's agent don't give your clients the keys until it's everything signed and the money's in everybody's account, so we don't have to deal with any legalities or anything like that. Also, you want to consult with your insurance agent prior to changing ownership, possession, because insurance coverage may be limited or terminated. In the absence of a written lease or appropriate insurance coverage may expose the property to massive economic loss. So it's best to be safe and just do upon closing and funding. But I do know some, depending on the market, there may be situations where you're trying to win the deal, and in order to do that, you might agree to temporary lease back or whatever. Just be very careful, and if there is a lease back, there's a specific form for that. Two of them. One is for the seller, and one is for the buyers leasing it back. Okay. Let's keep going. But insurance carrier need to be notified of any of these changes. And temporary possession, it can cause and temporary possession is less than 90 days, okay? So if the seller is moving in 90 days before closing, you can use it. If the the buyer is moving in 90 days before closing, there's an addendum for that. And if the buyer, am I saying that right? The seller is moving out 90 days after, and the buyer is going to move in 90 days before closing. You want to be careful on both of those fronts. I just gave you an example of how a seller can stay in and overstay their welcome. But what if you let the buyers move in early and they end up starting order furniture and they mess up their credit? Well, then they can't close. Now you got somebody staying in your property. It's just not worth it. Don't do it. It can be a problem, okay? Now let's get to smart devices. Okay. So seller needs to leave smart devices so that buyer can set it up when they move in, and sellers should share information and or reset it to factory default. Okay, that's pretty much what that's saying right there. But if you have any other questions about possession, please let me know. Thank you.